Weekly Feed. I'm Kyle Meredith here at Bonnaroo 2013. Jason Isbell, or as he says in the South, Isbell.
Isbell. They correct me in Texas.
Yeah.
They say it's Isbell in Texas, but I'm going to say it my way.
Yeah. Well, we're in Kentucky, so we're right in the middle. So we don't know whether to be northern or southern when we say your
Kentucky's
name.
way more southern than Texas, if you ask me.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
Culturally.
Yeah. What's a different? They want to be a different country anyway.
Yeah, Texas. They want to be a different country. My wife is from there, so I can't say too much about Texas. But yeah, it's just too big. There's too many different kinds of people, to actually classify them as southern.
Sure.
Yeah,
you got something that big.
The people, in the hill country, they're pretty southern, but you get to Amarillo and you're not going to find sweet tea. Yeah.
I don't live in a place that doesn't have sweet tea.
No,
I don't live in America that doesn't have sweet tea.
Or unsweet cornbread. Ooh. They put the sugar in the cornbread and not the tea.
Where are you going here?
Yeah, that's not right.
Want to congratulate you, Southeastern, this brand new record. Getting the buzz, the acclaim, people are loving it. It's an amazing record all the way throughout. You've definitely got kind of a story that goes along with this one, and everyone calls it your sober record, your sobriety record.
Yeah.
Is it having a stamp like that? Does that diminish it for you? Like, these were such personal songs in a new light, and now it has to be all summed up in that word.
If it's just that, yes, it doesn't diminish the record, but it kind of pisses me off a little bit. If it's just that, now I try to do it where it's like one of those, recovery records, honeymoon records, funeral records, songwriter records, storyteller records. I try to do all those at once on this record, so they couldn't just pick out one of them to focus on.
Right.
But the sobriety one is the biggest story for folks, and if it helps somebody else stop drinking, if they need to stop drinking, it's great. I don't care what they call it.
Sure.
If somebody listens to it and thinks, well, that's kind of like my experience, and I should try to quit now, great. That's fantastic.
Well, it does set it apart, I guess, from other records that you're talking about, because, whatever anybody has to go through is songwriting to get to that song, to find that moment. But that's not something that everybody goes through in that way. And I guess that is why it becomes kind of an interesting point of it. You've got songs from your past, lots of songs about drinking that you're still singing about. I mean, even Alabama Pines, a recent one, says, having to drink to not be alone.
Yeah.
You're singing those on stage now. I mean, I don't know, is it any different when you're singing those songs? Because now it's not exactly like you're living it, you lived it.
Right, if anything, it means more to me now, I think, because I remember how I felt in those days, and it's a little bit more of a triumph to actually have the experience and document it and then outgrow it. I think feels a little bit bigger to me than being in the center of it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But if you're a writer, your timeline has to kind of be a clock. You have to remember, because unless you're willing to just keep messing up every relationship you're in, or not ever write a heartbreak song again, you have to remember what it was like to be in those terrible relationships, and you have to remember it very, very well. You have to remember every detail that you can call up from it, or you're not going to ever be able to write a heartbreak song again. The only other option is being married 10 times, and that's not something I want to do.
You seem like you. I actually want to come back to the whole love thing. I mean, you're newly married and all that. But and one last point, I guess, on the alcohol thing. You did write like that for so long. Was it harder to be creative with a clearer mind?
No, I don't think it had any effect on that. It gave me more time in the day to work.
Sure.
And that was, I don't think that inspiration is the problem. I like Chuck Close, the painter. He said, inspiration's for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. And when I read that, I thought, all right, that's the last I'll ever say about not being inspired.
Right.
Because I know how to write a song. It doesn't have to be about the most world-changing event every single day.
Yeah.
But if you actually buckle down and put your ass to work, then you're going to come up with something. And the motivation came a lot easier when I wasn't thinking, oh, the sun's down now, I got to go start drinking.
Right.
If I'm ever going to get to sleep, I got to start drinking now. It's 3:45 in the afternoon.
Well, through all of it, I mean, you were so good at melodies. I mean, finding a hook in a song, comes so hard for some artists, and yet, even the most desperate stories in your songs had the greatest hook to it.
That's 80s pop radio.
Is that it?
Yes, I had it when I was a kid. The first thing I really latched on to, my family played a lot of traditional gospel and hillbilly country music, but I was in love with like Crowded House and Squeeze until Tuesday and Janet Jackson and Prince
right.
and Michael and all that.
I can hear it all in your music.
I was trust
for
me.
that record.
Trust me.
Yeah.
If I start singing "Oh Sheila" over one of my songs,
Sure, it works.
You'll go, wow.
That was it.
Yeah, it's a wonder he didn't get sued for that. But yeah, it's there. Any sense of melody really was strengthened by all that.
Right. So then, I guess I did have one more on that, because there was a thing that goes through. You were going to have Ryan Adams produce this record. Right, yeah. And that didn't work out.
Didn't work out. Scheduling got a little weird on both of us.
Yeah.
So we just didn't do it. And I wanted to finish it before I got married so I could go on my honeymoon and not have to be in Costa Rica worrying about songs and records.
So is this the record that would have been, do you think, if Ryan had been a part of it?
There would have been things that were different, but the songs were there, and I think his method of doing things is very similar to mine in the studio, and it would have been pretty much the same. I wouldn't have been in Nashville while I was doing it, so I probably would have driven my wife crazy because she was planning a wedding that week. And
I heard about that. You finish your record, you go straight into your wedding.
I got married. We had the rehearsal dinner the next day. We got married. I went back in the next day to do a couple of overdubs, and then we flew out for our honeymoon. That's
amazing.
Yeah, so I don't think it would have been possible if I was in Los Angeles, but other than that, it would have been a similar experience. I mean, I have to give Dave Cobb a whole lot of credit because he pulled things out of me that I've never been able to do on my own, I think. So yeah, Dave had a whole lot to do with it, but Ryan's way of making records is great. It's really good.
And for someone, I guess, that had been through even the same things, I guess it seemed to me there was a little club going on, Ryan and you and Justin Towns and everything, and it's just about getting older, and everybody says we can't do it anymore.
I don't know. People trying to clean up their act. I mean, we've seen too many of our heroes just mess it up,
It's great having rock history to actually look back.
It really is, honestly, and I think probably in all of our cases, Justin and Ryan and myself, we study that stuff, and not just rock history, but country music history and blues history for Justin, and Norwegian metal history for Ryan. They don't have the best track record either. They eat each other. They don't just get drunk. They get drunk and eat each other's brains off.
Well, anyway, you mentioned Amanda in there and everything. Your new wife, your new love. If this has got your honeymoon in this record, like I was talking to Father John Misty earlier, and we were talking about how cliche a love record can be. And how easy it is to fall in that trap. And I feel like, that's your honeymoon record. What's to say that the next one's not going to come and, it's be like, hey, this is going to be me being happy. How do you write happy songs?
Yeah, that's a challenge.
Without them being cliche,
I guess the details, if you study and you read enough and you have enough things going in and you listen to good music and only good music. I know a lot of songwriters who spend too much time with the top 40 radio just to hear what they want to hate, and I won't do it. I'll change it. I won't listen to it.
Won't even suffer through it.
Listen to the good stuff and read a bunch. Read a bunch. I mean, Dennis Johnson can write when he's happy, so why can't a songwriter do it?
Well, you've done a great job of chronicling kind of middle American characters throughout everything, and they're always, no one's ever in a good spot, it seems like, in a Jason Isbell song. Is that a take on America through your eyes? I mean, because obviously we're not living in the glory days. I mean, ever. It doesn't ever seem like everything's always going good.
You're right. But the people who are happy don't need a voice. They're fine. They don't need somebody speaking for them. And so I kind of think in my brain, I compartmentalize, and I think, all right, well, these folks are fine over here. Maybe I ought to say something about this guy. He looks like he's having a hard time.
I guess one of the more interesting things too is you put soldiers in your songs, and coming from a type of country in Americana, you're a liberal guy from what I know.
I am, for the most part.
And that's kind of it seems like that was always kind of a dangerous thing. But you get away in Americana more than country.
Yeah, I think so. I've angered some people with my take on it, but I try to tell stories. And, whether or not, I guess it was Stephen Colbert that says reality has a decidedly liberal bias, but whether or not that's true, if you tell the story and you don't lean too far in either direction, people will draw their own conclusions. Sure, I pick what parts of the story I want to tell. And that does put my personality and my character and my beliefs into a song.
But it's your song.
It's my song, and nobody cares what you believe. Nobody. People care what you do. Nobody gives a damn about what you believe. They don't want to hear it.
It's a great way to put it.
Thanks.
Great way to finish up this interview. Jason, Southeastern is a beautiful record. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Got Super 8 stuck in my head all day.
Good,
now, so.
good, excellent, perfect.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.